and welcome to Mirador Television. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. It's a chilly morning too. It's only going to reach 9 degrees today. The only thing is, the wind is very light, and as one of my bus companions said this morning, it doesn't feel as cold as it did yesterday. And of course, one of the things that we never take account of in this country, really, well, we do, but nowhere near the way that the North Americans do, is the chill factor. Is that if you've got a wind, it'll make it seem much colder than the actual temperature is. So it's fairly static today. There's a little bit of sunshine out, so 9 degrees, chilly, very light breeze, not an unpleasant day.
No, it's not. You're okay. Should we go into the?
I'm beaming because I'm just sitting here enjoying looking out of the windows. A little touch of sun is coming out. People are wandering down the streets. It's a lovely day out there. And sometimes, I think that the weather has a lot to do with how we feel in a day. That's why we're so key on what is the weather going to be today. It's almost the key topic of conversation. What is the weather going to be today? And it's going to be okay.
Well, it's
So I'm feeling okay.
it's only 6 degrees right now, and the lowest it's going to get is 4.
Right.
So pretty cold.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably started out at 4. It's gone up to 6. It's going to hit 9 at some stage, probably around noon, I suppose. That's when we tend to get the hottest part of the day, or the least cold, I think, in this particular situation. All right, shall we take a look at the top stories?
Yeah.
Before we go to the front pages, and the race plays a big part in today's news, and I don't know why. I think we just overreact totally to these things, but nonetheless, as the Met has paid out to two black brothers who were searched and handcuffed outside their home. Now, okay, I understand that abuses take place and so on, but you get to. I'm quite sure that the trouble is that how do we know that there's anything racist in those brothers being handcuffed? I mean, it could be that the police suspected them for good reasons and handcuffed them. If they'd been white, would there have been such a big hoo-ha about it?
No. I mean, the reason we got rid of stop and search was because black people were being disproportionately targeted by police officers, and that's the reason why we got rid of stop and search.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's entirely true. The counter argument to that has always been, well, no, police predominantly do stop and search in poorer neighborhoods. Poorer neighborhoods in this country tend to be more minorities, therefore more minorities are stopped and searched. That's always been the counter argument.
Yeah.
So is it racism? I don't think it is.
No. Or is it that more crime in poor areas? There tends to be more crime in poor
More
areas.
crime, more reason to stop and
Yeah,
search.
that's right. I mean, I'm not saying that, and believe me, I'm not supporting racism in any way. What I'm saying is that I think sometimes we would tend to jump whenever. Sorry?
I don't think anyone was thinking we were, to be clear.
But I think what happens is that people do jump at the slightest provocation now, is because of the bend the knee and
Well, yeah,
and kick the can and whatever else we do to show highlight these things is exacerbated the situation rather than helped it.
it has, and you know what? I genuinely don't like celebrities talking about politics or race or whatever, but Morgan Freeman did have a very good quote. He was in an interview and someone asked him, "How do you end racism?" He says, "Stop talking about race. If you stop talking about it, if you stop seeing it, there's no concept of racism."
That's right.
But unfortunately, that will never happen. The closest we got to that was the 90s, when it was the left's radical, even if you can even call it that, the idea of not seeing color, and I don't know why we've shifted away from that, because now we're only seeing color, but only in it's inverted itself. It's in the opposite direction. You need to be the blackest, the most woman, the most diverse, most disabled, black woman, whatever it might be, to run as a Labour politician or whatever.
It's just going back to what you said about celebrities and so on sounding off politically. Plato said in his Republic, when a man becomes an expert in one thing, he immediately thinks he's an expert in everything else. Somebody is a very good actor, a film star, they immediately think that they know about everything else too, because everybody looks at them and they feel they've got the platform and they can say those sorts of things.
Just trust
it's true of a lot of people. Is there always, I wouldn't want to stop honest debate. I wouldn't want to stop opinion, as long as it is what it is, opinion and not fact. And if in fact here we are, stars of television, because we are experts in being stars on television, is that we give opinions on other things because we're stars on television, then I would say, yeah. In fact, we give our opinion because we're reasonably well read and we understand, because on a daily basis we look at what's going on in the news. So we get a pretty broad idea, and therefore I think legitimately we give a view on it. But I mean, if I was a film star and not a bit interested in what's going on, until sometimes somebody says, "What do you think about it?" And we shouldn't hang on their every word. Anyway, there we go. The NHS is going to have winter war rooms launched to manage pressure on hospitals. I'm not quite sure.
I've heard about these winter war rooms because they're expecting blackouts, and that's going to affect hospitals.
So they're sort of emergency centres, are they? Winter war room.
Yeah, of what the backup generators and plans are.
Right.
Because constantly hearing about it, we're going to expect blackouts. Whether we are or not, I'm going to have to see. I really don't actually know.
I think. Well, I mean,
them.
There are lots of ands, ifs, and buts with the situation we're finding ourselves in at the moment. I mean, it is fresh ground, it's new ground. We know how to deal with it before, so by all means, try a winter war room.
Was the last time we had this in the 70s? Because I've heard about.
You're talking about the winter of discontent.
Yeah, but I don't understand what it is. I've heard it.
You don't understand what the winter of discontent is.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Well, I do like this phrase "perfect storm," meaning that everything comes together so that you get the most violent situation. And I think what happened in the 1970s was the equivalent of a perfect storm. We had the unions on strike. The country was going bust. We had no foreign policy. We had no domestic policy. We got a government that was finished, but didn't go to the polls. We had high taxation. We had a whole host of things that made the perfect storm. So that what happened was we became a paralyzed country, and there were body bags in the streets because the funeral parlors weren't operating.
Is that actually true?
Yeah.
Or is that an exaggerated story?
No, I mean they went right throughout the country, but in major centres, yes, in London, and Manchester, and Birmingham.
Do you think I mean, most people. So, I've asked this question before. I've never really. In 2020 and 2021, I said, "Do you think this is going to get worse than it was in the 70s?" And most people say no. I asked people in 2022. Most people now say yes. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be worse or not as bad?
Well, my view is that our political leaders have failed us abysmally. I think that the government has struggled from crisis to crisis It's had no overall policy. You know my view, that it's the backbenchers who have been the tail wagging the dog, and with all due respect, what they become is a mob. So they become an organised mob in Westminster. We've then got, we've been giving in for quite some time to these woke characters who are absolutely sure that they know what is right and wrong, and then they get onto the backs of the rest of us who perhaps doubt some of their philosophies. So all these things are closing in to create possibly another perfect storm. I think that we could have a second perfect storm. It may not be. It doesn't. Whether you could say it was worse or better or easier than the 1970s, I don't know. The conditions are somewhat different, but it can be very, very, very uncomfortable for us. Very uncomfortable, and that really is the key issue: is how uncomfortable is it going to get? And I think it can get much worse than it is now, which is sad to say. Particularly since things aren't. I mean, one of the other headlines is that Russia is targeting power units and heating operations and so on and so forth in Ukraine, which means that that situation is getting worse. That situation gets worse is in many ways that affects our heating. It affects our food. Because remember that Ukraine is the old steppes. What they used to call the Russian steppes. It provides huge amounts of corn and so on and other world foods. So yes, I think it could get worse. Although having that said, that not a direct comparison. Ukraine news is Putin's new target: heat, water, and electricity. As heavy fighting is now back on the agenda. I don't know that we've that's mostly the ambulance waits of 40 hours as NHS delays worsen. So the NHS, which is always in crisis, is even more in crisis. And were you ever a fan of Fleetwood Mac?
Why do I recognize the name?
It's a group of I don't know, the 80s, the 90s. Anyway, just for those people who were great music lovers, Christine McVie has died at 79. And she was the musical genius behind Fleetwood Mac's music.
Yes, I do like Fleetwood Mac. Yeah,
Right.
I've heard a couple of their songs.
Right, sure. All right. Well, shall we go to the park for our first visit today, and then we'll take a look at the newspaper, the headlines.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. We'll go for a little breather. Shall we go straight into the headlines then?
We shall indeed.
Well, I can share the screen today.
Oh, good.
So here we go.
Let's go to the Daily Mail then, who have got the front page story, Meet and Greet That Sparked a Royal Disaster. And what this story is about is that the Queen's former lady-in-waiting, who has got a lesser but terribly important role in the royal household, has been fired to all intents and purposes, forced to quit, because at some charity function she asked a black lady where she was from, and the woman said Hackney or wherever she was from, and she said no, but what she was trying to say is, what is your ethnic origin? You can't be a native Brit, because when the native Brits were being forged in 1066, there were very few black people, and she persisted, and the woman actually refused to say that she was anything other than English. Now, I think that's perfectly reasonable to ask. And in fact, I do all the time. And the reason that I ask people who are black is I want to know whether I've got a common bond with them. Because I spent a lot of time in Nigeria. I spent time in Ethiopia. I train an awful lot of people from Ghana, from West Africa, Ivory Coast, and so on and so forth. And I'm very interested in what their ethnic background is, because I think that if I know that, I've got a lot in common with them.
Yeah, and it's not just a race thing either. We were at a restaurant across the road a couple of weeks ago, and you asked the waiter, "Oh, where are you from?" He said, "I can't remember where it was. Romania, I think he was."
Oh, yes, right.
And you went, "Oh, I spent some time there. I was in this place."
Yeah, we shared a few. Yeah. And actually, 9 times out of 10, the people are very pleased that you've been to their country.
Yeah. Because not many people really have, probably.
Yeah. I actually find that this actually upsets me enormously. I think that this whole thing it's a typical woke thing. But what really has upset me, as you know, I'm a monarchist, I'm a royalist, and I'm a great believer in a constitutional monarchy. But William has come out and said, "Oh, she's very naughty," condemned her, and he has dropped. In my estimation, he has gone down to have got involved and reacted in such a way to something like this. For God's sake, William, if you're going to react like this, get out into the street, talk to people, because we don't see any evil in all asking these questions. And if you have been affected this way by the woke brigade and the, "Oh dear, let's get excited about everything," is that you're not the leader that I thought you were. You've lost a supporter. You've not only lost a supporter of you personally, you've lost a supporter of the Windsors as the incumbents of royalty. I have not lost my faith in a constitutional monarchy. You really upset me, and you've disappointed me. And let me make that quite clear.
That's what I've been saying this whole time. I have faith in the idea. I have faith in the idea of a constitutional monarchy. But all the monarchs themselves, besides the Queen, I don't like. Don't like any of them. That's what I've been saying this whole time. And it's exactly for this reason.
Well, you might not even like the Queen or Charles or whatever. The point is that is also, I don't like Joe Biden, but he is constitutionally he's the leader of the United States. I don't have to like him, but it doesn't mean to say I'm going to turn around and say the United States shouldn't have a president and shouldn't actually have the politics he's got. That's just the same here. The incumbents sometimes do not appeal to you, but that doesn't mean to say that the system should be broken. We have got the best system in the world, as you well know, I think. All right, so there we go. And apparently, everybody's really playing it up. Oh, it just soured the fact that William and Kate are in Boston, and everybody's looking forward to her coming, and the royals love her, and so on and so forth. And now this has soured it. Well, get with it. Get real. This should not. And this woman is on the front page along with the lady in waiting. Look, there is a ton of difference between the life that this lady has led and yours. We have to accept that. That's the way life is. I do not live as if I'm a member of the royal family, and I don't resent it one little bit. Not one little bit. And that's what it is. It's resentment. And I'm sorry, I just cannot get behind that sort of approach and attitude. If I met this lady, I might well say, "Where are you from?" And if she says, "From Hackney," if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. But you haven't given me the answer.
She was probably asking for the same reason as you. I'm sure this very wealthy member of the royal family has been all over the world and can relate. Oh, I have been to your country.
Absolutely. It's a nonsense.
And can I just say, I've done a similar thing before. I had a good friend of mine that I was like, "So where are you actually from?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm from England. I was born here." I go, "No, wait, where are you from?" He goes, "Oh, well, I'm from Australia. My parents are from Australia. Everyone's from Australia in my family. That's why I look a little bit darker and a little bit different from the rest of everyone else." I was like, "Okay." So it's not just a race thing. It's just like you can tell when people aren't from this country. You can tell the difference by looking at someone if they're from England or Romania, even though they're white. There's still differences. I mean, even
the way you do your hair.
Sweden or Denmark or something. You could tell the difference between these countries.
That's right. The way you dress, the way it's a whole host of things. Yeah. Anyway, it really has upset me, and I hope that we get to the position where William will be able to apologise to this lady. It won't happen, but let us be clear about where we stand on this. Right. Oh dear. Is the metro, the Palace in Race Row. So where are you really from? Well, let's say, where is she really from? I'm interested. I would love to know. Because if
What's
in fact,
her name again? It should be on this one, I think.
Yeah, it's Ngozi Fulani.
Oh my God, that's a difficult name as well. You've got to be careful.
With sort of spellings, it's probably turned out to be Josie or something of the sort.
How do you spell the first? I just passed
Ngozi.
Ngozi.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to find where she's from, because none of the papers will say where she's really from.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, let's see. Royal Aid quits after quizzing British charity founder Camilla Reception. Scott.
Okay, found where she's from. Nigeria.
Ah. Now, I would have been very interested in that. I mean, actually, when I'm talking about 4 weeks ago, I had some Nigerians in one of my classes. And when they come into the room, I say, "Where are you from?" And they say, "From Nigeria." "Whereabouts in Nigeria?" Well, say Lagos or whatever. And I say, "Well, I'm from Damaturu." And their eyes open up at their faces and they look at me quizzically. And I say, "I spent a lot of time in Damaturu." And now, have you ever heard of Damaturu?
I haven't heard of many places.
No. Well, most people have not heard of Damaturu. But in Nigeria, it's a fairly substantial centre, and these people knew exactly what I was talking about, and he gave us a common ground, and we started to talk about the geography of Nigeria, which is, most people don't know. You raised it yesterday in a different context. Most people don't know that it's a huge country. It's got 230 million people.
Yeah.
And that its geographical expanse.
And you know what? If you had met that woman, you would have said the exact same thing. "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
And if she had said Nigeria, you would have started the conversation. "Oh, I've been to Nigeria."
Absolutely, I'd have been very interested in her.
Yeah, because you've lived there.
Yeah. To be quite honest, if she's from Hackney, I don't give a sod. Sorry, she's not interesting. Right, okay. Now, this is where is the Daily Express. This is where I hope this is a headline. Prince William condemns godmother in Palace race row. I hope he hasn't condemned her. I hope that that's a word that the journalist has used to highlight the importance that the palace has put on it.
Well, you never know, because they always skew stories, but really know what's going on.
No, but condemn is a very strong word, and that's what started to tarnish William, in my view. He's the loser in this, not the lady in waiting. Yeah, shush. The Mirror. The Prince William's godmother quits in a race row. Queen's confidant of 60 years interrogated a black woman over heritage. He didn't interrogate her. Yeah.
Where does it? Wait, it says interrogated in the bottom section. Seriously? Interrogated.
Yes, it says.
That's ridiculous. Yeah,
interrogated. Yeah. Black woman over heritage. Now. Yeah. I mean, this is absolute rubbish and nonsense. But they won't let it go.
Like most things the Mirror says.
Yeah. And I feel very sorry for this lady, particularly since she apparently gave sort of 40 or 50 years of her life to the royal family. The Times. William's godmother quits over racism row, so it's going all the way through.
Wait, she's quit the royal family?
Well, no, she's quit her post. She was a lady. She was still a lady in waiting, so she's quit that post.
Over this minor story that's for whatever reason been
yeah, but the thing is, you see, is William, if in fact he did speak out in the way that this article suggests, is if he speaks out, of course, he's made it a major row, hasn't he? So the pressure was too great for her, I guess. I mean, it's a bit like, if I got on your back, Max, over some issue, and I came to Max, you would think, oh, great.
Over something as small as that, yeah.
The Eye, it changes. It hasn't led with this one. The UK is playing with fire after COVID jabs U-turn. Now, what's this one about? Is that the UK is not prepared for a new major COVID variant, with virologists saying there has been a failure to capitalize on the successes with the vaccine in the pandemic. The paper says there are warnings the UK lacks the capability to make a new vaccine, with former vaccine chief Katie Bingham warning our jabs are not good enough. Good enough for what? In any of that, it doesn't tell us, are they expecting a new variant to hit this winter? I know there's been various people nibbling about it throughout the summer, but I haven't heard any big definitive statement or warning yet. Have you, Max?
No, and if there was, I still wouldn't take it seriously. Over what they did with the last deadly variant, Omicron, didn't kill anyone, really.
Yeah.
They killed not even 100 people died from the Omicron variant. And it was this big, scary, oh God, you're all going to get killed, get the vaccine, blah, blah, blah. It was nothing. It was over nothing for the Omicron variant. And I think that is what has started most people's skepticism. God damn, I can't talk sometimes. But yeah, no, I think when they went hard on the Omicron variant, that's when everyone lost faith.
The Daily Telegraph. Strikes on every day until Christmas. Now we get into the nitty-gritty of things that are of concern.
Well, I'm going to check the trains because I don't know if I can get home today.
Oh, incidentally, I believe is today is a late night shopping in Lewes, which means that buses will cease to run around 4 o'clock because they spill out into the streets. So if you rely upon buses to get in and out of Lewes, make sure you catch your bus before 4 o'clock. I think that's accurate information. In fact, I'll get you to look that up in a minute. Lewes late night shopping. We are not going to cover it this year as such. We will just give a little heads up that it's going to happen. Right, okay. The Daily Telegraph leads with a story on strikes for the second day running. The paper reports that Britain faces disruption from industrial action every day until Christmas, with rail workers, nurses, teachers, security guards, and driving examiners all out on strike.
Driving examiners.
Yeah. Now is the time to take a test, Max.
Who was that by? What paper was that? Sorry.
That is the Telegraph. Incidentally, one of the interesting things is going back in time. Is at the time of the Suez Crisis, which would have been about 1957, 58, something like that. There was this question of petrol shortages again, and the petrol shortages meant that driving tests couldn't be taken. So if you had a provisional license, you could actually drive unaccompanied. That was wonderful. I was 17. I got my provisional license. I slapped the L plates on the car, and away I went. I could drive all over the place on my own. It's wonderful.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't allow that health and safety.
Oh, things are different now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my mum saying that, my grandparents would drive all the neighbours' kids to school. They would all get in the old Volvo estate. They would all sit in the boot. They would all pile in. No one would wear a seatbelt. Seatbelts weren't even a legal thing when my mum was a kid.
Yeah.
It's a really recent thing.
Yeah, and I mean, my actually first car was an Austin 7, tiny little Austin, lovely car, but it had seen better days. And when you actually drove, you had to guess where the stop sign was, and then pump the brakes to stop it. Black. Remember that in those days, as Henry Ford said, you can have any colour of car that you want off my assembly line as long as it's black.
Hang on, I'm just going to show your car on the screen. Give me a second.
Are you looking up at Austin 7, are you?
Oh, I know what it looks like, but I want to show people.
Yeah, absolutely, because many people don't know.
Was it a hardtop or?
It was a hardtop, but it got a sunshine roof. Because actually, when we took the cricket team, we would jam almost sort of half a dozen or so people into the car, and some of them actually would poke out through the rooftop so that we could get everybody in.
Hang on a minute.
Things you'd never be allowed to do today.
God, no, you wouldn't. Share the screen? Jesus, why is it being so slow? There we go. This was the car you had. Let me get it up for you as well, Keith.
Okay.
2 seconds. My great granddad's first car was an Austin Ruby 7.
An Austin Ruby was a classic. That's the one.
That was your
That
first
is the
car.
one. That's the first car.
What year was it? What year was it from?
It's 1930 something, I think.
And what year did you get it?
The next, I think that the next level up, which is a bit bigger, was 4 doors. So it was 1937. So this would have been early 1930s, I would have thought. But it is. Let me tell you that this car taught me how to be a manager. Because I had a friend, and we would take this car and go off scouting around the highways and the byways. But from one of its weaknesses was that if it got a bit of dirt or grit into the fuel line, it would quit. What we did was we then unscrewed the fuel line and sucked the dirt or the grit out, which meant you got a mouthful of petrol. So I would say, John, right, here it is. You suck the dirt out and special and so on, and get the motor started again, and I will stand by with a sweet, so that you can have a sweet to get your mouth clean after you've finished getting this petrol in. Ah, dear, you have to divvy up the responsibilities. The Financial Times.
So to buy your car today, actually, it's not a lot of money. £6,000.
That's not bad.
Well, this one's an Austin Ruby 7.
Right.
So I assume the regular Austin 7 would be a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, probably.
That's in blue.
Oh, yeah, they were lovely cars, weren't they? Yeah.
How much did it cost you when you bought it?
I don't know, because it was my grandfather's and he gave it to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
So did he buy it new?
Oh, yes, he would have, but I never bothered to find out. My grandfather was he could keep things running, but he was not handy with his hands, I think he was very happy that I accepted this gift from him, so he didn't have to fart around with it. And that my friend, who was a better mechanic than any of us, would help keep it running. Right, away from reminiscences of a Ford motor car now.
I think we're going to the Guardian next. We didn't go.
No, the Guardian revealed. You're quite right. We didn't. 70% of England's water firms in foreign hands. You made the point. Is what's new about that?
Well,
and
no.
I would agree with you. As we've known for a long time that foreign ownership is, a lot of British, so-called British companies are in foreign hands, if you like. Every time you step onto a train, you're going into a French train.
Well, there's a difference between a train and the water supply.
Oh. But if you were dealing in markets, if you're looking at it from a financial point of view, people would say, no, there's no difference. Basically, what you do is you try to buy into companies that will make you a profit. So whether it's a train company or the water company, what the issue is here is vital industries, how much is owned by foreigners. The implication being is that if it goes out of control of English companies, they could be shut down, for instance, or not dealt with in the way that is in the national interest. That's what they're trying to.
It says here. So we already know Southern Water, where we are. I think 20 to 30% of it is owned by China. Why did China own our water supply? Odd question. But 70% of our water supply is not owned by England. That is questionable, I suppose. But the three other countries that own it are Qatar, Abu Dhabi, China, and the USA. The USA specifically being BlackRock, the company. Yes, all of those are very good places and organizations. No questions. No, I don't know if there's ever been any history of doing anything bad, I'd say.
Well, I mean, if Qatar is a substantial shareholder or owner of our water company, one of our water companies, or several water companies, and so on. Of course, everybody has been made a big fuss about the World Cup, and that they use slave labor, and that that they don't allow homosexuality, and so on and so forth. It's all. Everybody makes a fuss of it when it's in Qatar and it's football. But when it's just ordinary bog standard ownership of water coming in, nobody seems to get excited about Qatar.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I mean, it's actually, I'm not going to say it. I can't. I can't say it. It's too offensive.
All right, we won't force you. Let's go to the Financial Times.
Right.
Brussels and Yellen turn up the heat on Musk over Twitter. Now, you are a Musk Twitter
Yes.
observer,
Yes.
so I'm going to leave this one to you.
Twitter observer. So I have a Twitter account. I got banned, but I got it reinstated.
Well done.
So I'm back on Twitter. So I'm happy. I don't tweet anything actually. I just like to watch the platform burn. That's why I'm there.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
always
you do follow Musk, don't you?
Yeah.
And what's happening in Twitter. So perhaps just give us a quick background. Because the Americans particularly are giving Musk a bad time.
So just briefly, the reason. So what happened was Elon Musk wanted to buy the company, and for 44 billion, and Twitter. He backed out because Twitter was run full of bot accounts, so fake accounts, and then they sued Elon Musk and forced him to buy the company for 44 billion, which is ridiculous, and I don't know how that's even possible. So he bought Twitter, and now he's allowing free speech back to a certain extent. You can't be liable or just outwardly racist. There are still certain words you can't say, but he's allowing a lot of controversial people back on the platform. So he allowed Trump back on. He's allowed a lot of influential figures back on who are controversial. Kanye West was back on. And the reason he's doing this and allowing these controversial figures back on is because they were banned unjustly, because he is a free speech absolutist.
Right.
And because he's for free speech, obviously the European Union has a big issue with that.
Yeah. Oh, there's the opposite view, or what did I say? A different view comes along at 9:30, right? It's 9:15, and who just appeared at the window and waved in is Liza Page. So she is here, ready to take some of these issues and bring them to your attention with the alternative view. And when these two get going, believe you me, it's worth listening to. I may not believe a word that they say, but by God, it's worth listening to. The Daily Star, take one for the team. Fans urge TV switch to ensure the Three Lions win. Aha! It just shows how. Well, basically, apparently, in the World Cup, only twice have England won when ITV have covered it. And they've won 18 out of 20 times, and the BBC have covered it. So the fans are saying it's due to be on ITV. Why can't we please now put it on BBC, because that gives them a better chance of winning? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I love superstition. I just love it. The Sun. I am the one and only Three Lions mascot, and I'll sing us all the way to the final. Well, I mean, you know, it gets silly, doesn't it, when it gets down to who should sing at the national anthem at the final.
Who is this?
I don't know. It's not somebody that I know.
I don't recognize him.
Chesney, is it Chesney? Somebody called pop star Chesney Hawkes.
Never heard of him.
No, nor me. But apparently he sang it at the. I mean, yeah, it's a big deal for some people, I suppose. I mean, and I do understand that they do it rather better than most. If I was asked to sing the national anthem at the stadium, I'd clear it in my voice. Morning, Liza.
Morning.
There we go. So that's the headlines. Now, as I recall, there was a key story. I know. Here we go. Sussex Live News. Let's see what's going Urgent action needed at the hospital after unannounced CQC inspection. Oh dear, some hospital has failed again, obviously. The Royal Sussex, the county hospital here in Brighton, has demanded urgent action at a Brighton hospital after suspending some special operations. The Care Quality Commission undertook an unannounced inspection of the gastrointestinal surgery department in August after receiving concerns about its safety. And they said, oh, naughty, naughty, naughty. Yeah, if you're going for that. New £10 million innovation centre coming to a busy town retail park. Let's see where that is. In Crawley, is an innovation centre has been approved in Crawley, providing hundreds of jobs.
Sorry,
£10 million innovation centre has been approved in Crawley.
What the hell is an innovation?
I have no idea.
Have you ever been to Crawley?
No.
No.
Planning permission has been approved for a new innovation centre. The centre will be built in Manor Royal Industrial Estate, expected to bring an economic boost to the town as it continues to overcome the aftermath of the COVID pandemic and lockdowns. The innovation centre was a key part of the town's recovery plan and was agreed by the Crawley Borough Council Planning Committee. I still don't know what an innovation centre is, and this article doesn't tell me. But anyway, it's going to create jobs.
Hang on, let me search up what a
innovation centre is.
What is an innovation centre?
And you'll be pleased to know that today the hosepipe ban has been lifted.
Seriously?
Seriously?
Only just today?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. You're a bit close to the camera there, Q.
I'm sorry if you're catching my nose, but it's the only way that I can.
So the hosepipe ban has finally been lifted. That's crazy. My next door neighbour's got a fine for using their hosepipe for washing their car. They were reported by that one neighbour that we all have. We all know the one. But they were reported by my neighbour, and they got a £2,000 fine. Yeah, and they didn't even realise it was still. I think this was a month ago, so they thought the ban was lifted.
Yeah, so we're enthusiastic jobs with us. Now, there's a Sussex town that is named the best place to visit in 2023. Where is it?
Sussex town. East or west?
Yes, Sussex. Yes.
I'm gonna take a guess. Crawley.
I will go to Crawley now you said that, just so I can take a look. No, it's Eastbourne. Eastbourne is considered to be above London and other places to visit. Eastbourne has been either voted or analysed as the best place to visit. So there you are. Downtrodden and desperate Sussex ambulance workers are vote to strike. Oh, here's one that is quite important. Is HSBC again to close 5 branches across Sussex, one of them being Lewes, and it is scheduled for closure in July. Is exactly what we were on about yesterday.
Talking about what branch? Sorry,
the one in Lewes.
We were just talking about HSBC, saying, "Wow, their rates are really good. I might switch over to HSBC," and now they're shutting it down in Lewes in July.
Yeah,
January, March, April, June. 6 months time.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
What was it? Santander has just been shut down. Barclays has been shut down. Now HSBC. What else? Are those the 3 banks that have been shut down already, or is there any more?
Barclays has gone, and NatWest is about to go.
NatWest is going.
So HSBC is about to go. In fact, I think that only leads Lloyds, does it not?
That's 4.
Yeah.
What bank are you with?
I'm with Lloyds.
Lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I do have an NatWest account, but I don't use it very much, so it's not going to be. That's not going to be a great loss to me. But I do have one of the organisations I belong to has got an HSBC account. But I have. If Lloyd's closed down, then I really would be very upset.
Well, then there will be no bank in the town.
No, that's right.
Like, it's clear the only reason they're doing this, same with the reason, where there used to be 2 ATMs, there's now only 1. I've noticed that almost everywhere I go.
Okay. Agenda 21, darlings.
Yes.
Agenda 21.
And the reason they're getting rid of the banks and the ATM machines is clearly because they're trying to get rid of cash.
Yes. Well, it's that they claim. Now they claim that we don't use the banks. They say since the pandemic, we're not going to the banks anymore.
Hang on a minute. So the government locked us all in our houses and then went, oh, well, clearly no one's going outside. What? That's ridiculous.
It's all ridiculous. I wouldn't have thought that actually usage, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's a service that is required. And I think that any bank that has a license should have an obligation to keep its branches in the smaller regions open. I really do. I find banks completely and utterly not responsible as far as looking after, corporate social responsibility, if you like. They are not responsible, and the government lets them get away with it. It's incredible. It's silly. Anyway, there we are. Now it's my time to say toodle pip, and to let you loose with your co-presenter, Liza Page, and so you can actually rip society apart and have a good time doing it, laughing and joking when you should be serious. So, do you want to go to a little program, and we'll bring in Liza, and away you can go.
Yeah. So, hang on a minute. I'm just trying to find. Oh yeah. If you want to quickly read this out before you go.
Oh, and will you remember, please, because our pledge is that we will play an episode, a half episode of each of our documentary. So we need at some stage before 11 o'clock to play part 1 of episode 2 of the bloody past about Tiny Town. Right, what is an innovation centre? It's a space where organisations of any kind establish labs or spaces for makers on their own campuses. Oftentimes, corporations use an innovation centre to showcase their own innovations or new products to employees, investors, or even customers. That doesn't tell me what this is going to do. How is it going to create jobs, and why is it so important to the town?
Is this like an advanced job centre, I wonder?
I don't know. It is interesting. Perhaps what we'll do is put through a call to Crawley and say, what's this all about?
Yeah, do that. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to scenes in Sussex whilst I get the Christmas clip. So I need to find.
Very good.
All right, here we go.
All right. Well, before you go to that, can I say toodle pip? I'm glad to have been with you this morning, and you will be. You've still got Mad Max, magnificent Max. Mad Max is the latter day Jack Fuller. And he will be joined by Liza Page, who I've likened to Barbara Walters in the States, a very, very distinguished talk show host. So there you are. You're going to have an interesting hour or more with them, while I go and sneak off and play the fool. Toodle pip.
All right, here we go. Okay, so welcome back. We have here with me Eliza Page. Good morning.
Are we set up properly?
Not really, no. I don't know why, but it's saying
The
that there's
camera.
an access issue.
Ah,
So I'm just trying to get up episode 2.
are we on?
Yeah, we are.
I
But
see.
it won't let me go to the. It's just saying file.
I'm not on.
You are. So give me a minute. I'm trying. It's saying that this is a. Hang on. So how are you this morning?
I'm rather well. How are you, Max?
I'm doing all right. The computer is stressing me out this morning.
Really? Oh,
It's not. Okay.
you
hang
do
on.
suffer, don't you?
Oh, okay. Of course, it didn't work again. I've not come across this issue before. We have a lot to go through today. Finally, we have now the full census data that's been released, so we'll go through that as well today.
What does that mean?
The 2021 census data, so population increase, decrease,
Uh-huh.
ethnicity,
Yeah, I've got some of that
money,
in my notes, yes.
yeah. What places aren't English anymore?
Yes.
There are 18 places in the United Kingdom, like big towns and boroughs, that are no longer British.
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all. Does it surprise you?
No, it doesn't.
No.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this clip. We'll be back shortly. Sorry about this. Okay, all right. So I have a clip. It's one of the clips that Keith wanted me to play today. It's about Christmas Day. I'm not sure what the clip is. He's seen it. He says it's a good clip, so I'll take his word for it. And here we go. This is a show that they did, I think, back in 2019 about Christmas. It's December, so we're going through all our Christmas archives. So here we go.
the patience of Job. I would have screamed and ran out years ago. I mean, I think it's marvellous the way you hang it.
Yeah. So it's just. So we're going to go to episode 2 now. It's back. It was just not allowing me to. It was saying file not accessible. Technology is stressful sometimes,
Yes,
and
I tell
it gives you no reason why
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Yes, and we're very, very lucky to still have what we've got.
We are.
We really are.
So we're going to go to part 1 of episode 2. So it's about 10 minutes long. Of Bloody Past of a Tiny Town, a documentary made by Keith that was very, very well made, actually.
I've seen that several times. I think it's excellent.
Yes, I know. I've watched it in full. Very interesting. The history of Lewis.
Yes,
Goes all the way back to like.
No one better than Keith to do that sort of thing. He's so knowledgeable about Lewis.
I mean, Lewis. The history of Lewis goes all the way back to like the year 600. It's like when Keith was just a kid. Well, so here we go.
Yes, he was very young.
He was. So let's go to the clip. Here we go.
Lovely scene, isn't it? Beautiful green grass, blackberry bushes surrounding the lawn. Peaceful. The chaps, gliding a bowling ball across the cropped turf. Couldn't be more pleasant. But this bowling green was originally the tilting ground for the castle. A bit like the local football club, Norman knights turned up regularly to practice cutting off ears, piercing armour with pike or sword. Or even more dramatically, they charged at one another with pointed lances, determined to knock an opponent to the ground, ready to perform the coup de grace, that last fatal plunge of the sword in the unguarded bit of flesh, the throat. Ugh, makes me feel quite faint. But the Knights of 1100 had to be honed to military perfection. Not only was there the odd disgruntled Saxon around, but even his own side could give the king a rough time. And indeed they did. But before we go to another bloody incident on the Lewes High Street, let's stay with the tilting ground for a moment. In the 1700s, the soldiers, who had wielded their swords with such skill, discovered guns and started shooting one another. That more or less ended the fun of charging at one another with horses. And so this bit of real estate was up for grabs, and the local crown bowlers seized the opportunity in 1751 and turned tilting into bowling. But this is Lewes, remember. Nothing is ever what it seems. The horses had ploughed up the ground a bit, so the surface wasn't even. You can see the bumps and ridges across the green. So the type of bowls played on this green was different to any played through the British Isles. And 500 years later, it still is.
It goes way back to medieval times, but so far as we're concerned here, we've been playing here since 1753, and there is some evidence to suggest that in the mid-1600s there was bowls played here. And we're reputed to be the oldest society, sporting society in the world. Very unique, and we're unique in many respects. I mean, firstly, the woods are unique in that they're most of them over 100 years old. They're lignum vitae, which is very, very hard wood, and that's the reason, of course, they've survived as long as they have. The jack is biased, which is very unusual, and the green is undulating, very undulating. There's not another green anywhere in this country so far as we know, and it makes for a very fascinating but unique game, one that we can't play any other club because there aren't any that play like this. We have a membership of 50 only because, or 55 now, because that's all the woods we have. They're handed down from person to person. We have a championship game in the summer because we have a competition throughout the year, which is within the club. And I think the winner of that is our own champion, but we can consider he's world champion. As long as we can retain the green, and I think we can retain the green, as long as we can do that, the shouldn't continue ad infinitum almost. It's a great stand.
So bowling is quite capable of doing that. Very difficult. But back to blood and guts. In the last episode, I spoke of a battle between the king and some of his barons. The king, Henry III, held the castle. Now, as you can see, the castle pokes up into the sky quite a bit. The Motter is a man-made hill, and as you can see, a few hours of overtime were put in to build this pile of dirt. From the top, you can see in every direction for miles. Almost impossible to creep up without being noticed. And there was a moat to cross as well. But it's called Castle Ditch Lane, the name reflecting its purpose all those years ago. The king, rather unsportingly, had more men on his side than the barons. He fell asleep at the switch, and on that meadow over there, Simon de Montfort drew up his troops and joined battle. Fighting was fierce. After all, they'd all been on their own tilting greens, preparing for such a showdown as this. The battle was short and sharp, and the barons put the royal troops to flight. And they showed no mercy. The priory had been used as a staging post by the king's men, and they now took refuge there. It's little wonder that tilting grounds became bowling greens, because despite all that training, the king's men panicked. Screams of terror from both monks and soldiers echoed around the priory, as burning arrows thudded into thatched roofs, setting the priory buildings afire. Fighting spilled over to here, our beloved but bloody High Street. Soldiers were either massacred or crushed to death as they tried to get across the bridge over the River Ouse. For the king, it was a complete disaster.
de Montfort, he split his armies up on the hills behind us in the Chalk Downs. And he split his army into three forward not flanks, but bunches of men, groups. And they would have been around 1,500 people in them. So a lot of people. So he had 1,500 people. Then he kept men back for himself. So his left flank went off to Barkham and met Prince Edward, and they went off to Barkham. Prince Edward, being a hothead and chasing them all the way up to Barkham, away from the town, was one of the reasons the king's men lost. Because and they were mounted knights. And then the other two sets came into the town and were met by the king's army and Richard of Alameyn's army on sort of the hills around us, really, because where we are now would have been outside the town.
And it was a pretty bloody war.
It was dreadful. It was absolutely dreadful. It's hard to imagine. Lewes is a little place, and on the hills around Lewes, where most of the fighting was, there were tens of thousands of people trying to kill each other. And it was hand-to-hand close combat. And you didn't often die of wounds on the battlefield immediately. You were usually whacked with a broadsword and you would die of internal bleeding, or you would, have limbs severed and die slow death, or you would die death from infection, etc.
So there you go. Not quite one man, one vote, but some slight recognition that the divine right of kings isn't exactly what the Almighty had in mind. A spark of democracy was ignited, and it happened in Lewes. As usual, this is thirsty work, and I need to take a break. In fact, have a tipple, or perhaps go to the loos. Don't leave me, there's more blood and gore to come. Oh, Lewes, what a place!
Welcome back. Welcome back to Mirador Television. I'm here. Across with me is Liza Page. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes. But troubled.
Troubled?
With the world situation, yes. I mean, it's only natural to be troubled when you read as much as I do and do as much studying as I do. It's only natural that I would be very, very concerned.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
it's
we have a
distressing. I think people maybe are waking up a little bit here and there, but I'm not sure. Not enough. I mean, they certainly are in China. God bless them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're so brave, so brave, and I wish they'd done it long ago.
Look, it's better late than never.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing about it.
I'm just terrified that though this ping pong chap, as I call him, will do another Tiananmen Square on these people.
This ping pong chap.
Well, can't remember the name. Can't be bothered to. Cannot be bothered to remember the name of those kind of people. But I see the little guy who preceded him has snuffed it, thank God. Don't want those kind of people on the planet.
I saw that. What was his name?
God knows.
He was the Chinese president.
Yes. Before ping pong.
I try because if I don't, if I can't remember his name. Oh, okay. I've got it here. What? Okay, so okay, I'm gonna try to say his name. Jiang Zemin dies at 96 years
Yeah,
old.
oh yes, these old bastards hang around
96
because they've got the finest doctors, finest physicians. They don't die quickly.
Let me bring this up onto to the screen so you all can see it. Yeah, dies at 96 years old.
Oh yes.
He lived all the way to 96.
Oh yeah, they go on. Yes,
He
with the
outlived,
finest of everything.
Yeah, but you would think, he wouldn't have died of natural causes, but clearly, 96 years old. That's actually quite shocking that he died at 96 years old. I'm surprised that he lived so long. I'm also surprised that what was that guy's name? The Russian guy died recently. I've forgotten his name. That's really annoying. Do you know who I mean?
Can't help you, darling. Cannot help you. You'll think
Keith is a fan of his because he basically abolished the CCP. Not the CCP, the USSR.
Uh-huh. Did they kill him, do you think? Or
No, he died at 92 as well.
92, right.
Damn, that's really annoyed me. I can't remember his name.
Never mind. It will come. Normally, I'm the one that forgets, and you help me out. Now you've forgotten, and I can't help you out.
You know what? I'm worried for when I get to quite old. When I get into my 80s, I forget names already. I'm terrible with names. I can only recognize faces.
Yes, but you like myself, you do an awful lot of studying.
Yeah.
And we can't retain everything. Just retain the most important things.
I'll remember useless names that who was it we were talking about the other week, and I just pulled his name out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That was talking in Parliament. Anyway, I've forgotten his name now as well. Wait, so we have a couple stories here today. We've got two ones about vaccine. I think we're going to be spending a lot of time on the census data that's been released. They've got a lot of interesting information in there. I could probably be going through that for hours when I get home because I'm going to be looking at this properly because it's so in-depth detail. So what I am going to do is we're going to share the screen of the front pages today. We're going to go to the I. So the front page of the Independent, the I, sorry, was, here we go, bring it up here. I thought it was quite an interesting headline because I was like, whoa, a major paper is talking about this? And it said, UK playing with fire after COVID jab U-turns, warn scientists. And then you look at it a bit closer and it says, there's not enough vaccines to go around. We need to vaccinate more and more people.
Oh.
It's like, okay, of course, the I. Yeah.
Of course.
But that was in one of the major papers. And we were talking about the front page of the Daily Mail this morning. And I don't know if you've seen this, but they're calling it a royal race row.
The lady in waiting asked a lady of colour what part of Africa she was from.
No, she asked, where are you from? She said London. And she said, no, where are you from?
Well, is that so terrible?
Yes, that's an incredibly racist thing to say.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and she stepped down. The
They
royal.
fired her?
No, she stepped down herself as the queen, as a royal in waiting.
Ah.
She stepped down because she was in the front pages for saying what is known as a microaggression.
Oh.
Have you heard of these?
No, darling.
Microaggression.
Educate me, please.
So you've got out and out racism, where it's someone saying the N-word, which is highly illegal to say. You will get arrested for saying that word. I don't
How
think.
long can you go to prison for making a mistake of saying a word that is illegal?
If it's a genuine mistake, probably just a fine. If it's intended, you're looking at a minimum a year for saying a word.
Interesting.
So it's very
Interesting.
not that I say the word anyway. But that is racism. That is what is known as a racist aggression, saying that word. So now you have microaggressions, so it's small things.
Yeah.
Small things like, where are you from? I'm from so-and-so. No. Where are you really from? Where's your ancestors from? That is a microaggression. That's what that's known as.
Well, why should it be?
Because you're right, it shouldn't. But
I mean, it's ridiculous.
I know. But we live in a ridiculous world.
But if you ask someone where they were born, is that wrong too?
Yes, that's racist.
That's racist, is it?
Supposedly, yes.
Interesting.
That's why it's such a big story in the papers today. I don't view it as racist.
The whole world is getting absolutely ridiculous, and these laws are made to pitch one another against one another, to cause hatred. I mean, they're allowing all these immigrations into this country so that Britain loses all identity possible.
I don't like when celebrities talk about politics, but Morgan Freeman did have a very good quote, and he was in an interview, and someone said, "How do we end racism?" He says, "Stop talking about race." And it's a very good point. If we don't talk about the color of people's skin, if we so-called colorblind, which was a big thing in the 90s, but if we are colorblind, that's when racism goes. Because if you don't see race, there is no racism. That was a big thing in the 90s. That was the progressive thing to do. I don't know why that's changed, because that makes sense, really. But now it's inverted. It's all about race. You have to be the most black. You have to be the most diverse you possibly can to get a seat on our board of directors or come into our company. You have to be so-and-so. We have to fill our quotas of black people. It's ridiculous, and it's more racist. It's just the world seems to be getting more and more racist, but it's gone in the opposite direction now from what it used to be in the 60s and the 50s and the 40s and back and so on.
Yes.
It's inverted. Everything in our culture seems to be...
everything's very, very inverted. Yes.
Everything in our culture seems to keep being inverted.
Yes.
Men are women, women are men.
Yes.
And then you have the insane... 2 + 2 make 5. Yeah.
Yes. And even that is confusing me now. I mean, And they walk around with these things on. What are they called? Where they're in another world.
Oh, VR. Virtual reality. You've never experienced virtual reality, have you?
No.
I have.
I wouldn't put one of those things on my face.
I have multiple times. I
think they're dangerous.
I will say it is very fun. So I understand why people get hooked on it. It's very hard to say no. They're incredibly fun. I won't buy one for myself because of that. But my brothers have one, and family have them for rate. So what you can do is put these virtual reality glasses on. Some family of mine have it, where they have the virtual reality glasses hooked up to the TV, hooked up to a racing steering wheel and pedals, and you can look around in the car and you can race as if you were really on the racetrack. It's extremely fun, but extremely addictive at the same time.
Yes.
My problem is, as well, I can't use it for more than half an hour. Otherwise, I get a blinding headache because the virtual reality goggles have to go on your face and I have to take my glasses off.
Yes.
So I'm physically incapable. I'm also incapable of having contact lenses. I'm not allowed them because of the shape of my eyes, weirdly.
Yes.
My eyes aren't circle. They're
Uh-huh.
rugby ball shape,
Uh-huh.
so they can't put contact lenses in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm stuck with glasses for the rest of my life.
Hmm. Well,
Strange.
that's interesting. But those other things, they're highly dangerous. They put you into another world, and then when you take them off, you think this is wrong. You think that world that you
yeah,
think
no, I
that's
know.
the world.
I know exactly, because I spent about an hour and a half in it once,
Uh-huh.
and I took it off, and I started looking around the room and was like, this is weird.
Well, this is what they done here. This world is not real that we are in.
Hmm.
Don't get me on my soapbox there, because I'm not the one to describe it. David Icke is,
Well-
but he is so right, so right.
And so censored as well.
Exactly. And why is
Can
he
I just-
censored?
can I
why
just
is
say-
he censored?
Can I just say, censorship, first of all, doesn't work, because you can always find them somewhere on the internet.
Exactly.
You can censor them from the mainstream,
Uh-huh.
but you can always find them.
Uh-huh.
And takes YouTube and Facebook censors flat earthers, for
Uh-huh.
example. I don't believe the world is flat. That's a ridiculous thing. I don't think that. Why is every other planet round but we're flat? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, the flat Earth community are censored on the internet relentlessly. They're
Mhm.
banned from everywhere.
Yes.
And what it does is it goes, we're being censored on the internet, which
Mhm.
must mean we're correct, because
Uh-huh.
why else would they censor us?
Uh-huh.
So it doubles down their beliefs as
Yes.
we're being censored. They don't want us to be in the mainstream,
Uh-huh.
so we don't show people what's really going on.
Uh-huh.
They are wrong. The world obviously isn't flat, but it is ridiculous.
Let them explain it, though.
Yes, I know. Everyone
Let
should.
them explain it.
Everyone has the right to speak. Everyone should, at
Yes.
least. Everyone should have the right to an opinion, even if it's a bad opinion or just clearly a wrong, factually incorrect opinion.
Hmm.
But because they're censored so much, they think, well, it's definitely true then, because they don't want us telling all the others.
Mhm.
So censorship doesn't work at all. It doubles down
Mm.
on people's beliefs.
Mhm. Yes, it's not a nice phase at all that we are going through. It's petrifying. It's all wrong. It's ghastly, and
Men are women, women are men.
yeah.
And
Sorry.
the worst one I've heard from bad takes on Twitter, I suppose, is I've heard people saying that, and again, this isn't me saying it, a lot of people on the internet are saying this, but they're saying children can consent.
I know.
People are saying that on the internet, when obviously they can't. First of all, even at 19 now, I couldn't make a massive life-changing decision, like changing my gender, and children can't consent to that. But what they're saying is children can consent to relationships
Oh
and
yes.
sexual ones, and that is just wrong. Those people, I believe, should be put up against the wall.
They should be exterminated, certainly. I
Yeah.
mean, but even suggesting that,
I
let alone passing a bill to say
I don't believe in the
that
death
can be
penalty.
allowed.
I don't believe in the death penalty. I support the death penalty in theory, but the problem with the death penalty is death by who? The
Mhm.
government.
Yes,
It's the government that controls the death penalty.
yes.
And as we all know, the government aren't brilliant at their job, to say the least. I mean, they can't even fix a pothole. Why can they take someone's life? That's my
Yeah.
view on it. I
Or-
support
or-
it in idea, but in
Well,
reality, it
governments
doesn't
are
work.
just, cunning, nasty, horrible, uneducated little people. I mean, they're ruled by the people at the top over them. I mean, they are just
I wouldn't say
like
uneducated.
just serfs. No, they're not.
I wouldn't say uneducated, but brainwashed.
Can an educated person be brainwashed?
Yeah,
Can
I
they?
think. Look at all the people coming out of university. They went to university because they could get there. They're more intelligent than. I mean, you have to be somewhat intelligent to go to university, and then you go and then you get brainwashed. I mean, I've had
very,
conversations with friends about this. I don't want them to go to university because they're going to get brainwashed there. But
Yeah.
you know, it's doesn't
And
work.
there was a woman in the States that sent her daughter to a very, very expensive school, and they twisted her mind. You know, she shaved her head and it went very, very strange. And then they had to pay a lot of money to get her
Sorry, continue.
unprogrammed. And she said, yes, I am unprogrammed now, and it's only due to my mother because I was totally taken in by these people.
Hmm.
But not everyone's got a parent to do that for you when the damage has been done.
And it's taught in schools as well. It's
I know,
taught in
so-
schools.
Yeah, little tiny children. I mean,
I'm trying to be
it's-
as careful as I can. I'm always asking my younger brothers and sisters, what are you learning in school? What are they teaching you?
Yeah.
We have lessons called PD or PSD, depending on what school you go to. Personal studies
Mm.
is what it usually stands for, or personal development, personal whatever it is.
Yes.
And that's where you learn a lot about these, like the diversity and inclusion things. It's always, you need to, that's where they really start to tell children their view of the world. That's the indoctrination lesson specifically. It takes
Yeah.
place in all lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, my English teacher did a lesson to us on In Spectacles, the book. Most people have read. It's read in all schools. And the In Spectacles book is about, it has an underlying thing to it, which is socialism and capitalism. We were going through this in English class, and then the teacher had to explain to us what socialism and capitalism was.
Mm.
And she very biasly explained what socialism was. She made it look the best as possible. And then she went, oh, capitalism bad, greedy, only at the top. Socialism is lovely, it trickles down, everyone's equal. That's never the case in socialism, is it?
No.
So it's in every lesson.
Yeah.
It's in everything down to maths. It really is. There have been leaks from schools where, you know how on a maths test you would get something like, Jimmy has 4 chocolate bars. He gives 1 to his friend Jessica and 3 to his friend Dave. How many does he have left? It'll be something like that.
Mhm.
That's the standard question.
Mhm.
Now what's being leaked from these tests are, if there are 800 people in a community, 200 of them are black and 600 of them are white, but 150 black people are stopped by the police as opposed to 20 white people, what is the difference in racism caused by the police? In the maths lesson. Those are the things that are coming out right now, and it's despicable.
Shocking.
It's down
Dreadful.
to everything.
And it's it's been planned for many years, as I told you.
Hmm.
Probably 100 years back. My experience, the war, which I've discussed before with you, and the Nazis and how, they took over. We never won the war. As I told you, the Nazis were put right back in place where they were to run the country. That was supposed to be a deterrent to the Russians. And this whole thing has been so very carefully planned over the years to change the world and bring forth this Agenda
2030 is usually what it's referred to.
yeah.
2030, the magical year where everything's going to happen.
Yes.
Everything good will come in 2030.
Yeah, well, it seems to be coming a little bit quicker than that, Max.
Yeah, you've mentioned.
A little bit quicker, and all the schools, and it's all falling into place, just like a jigsaw puzzle. All these people coming over to take over our country so that there's virtually no race at all. no race, and
Speaking-
taking away our heritage, the great composers, the painters. I mean, you name it. Society produces some magnificent people, and that is part of our heritage, which we take a pride in. And it gives children something to look up to. It gives them a yardstick. And that is all being full. There is nothing. It's so 1984, except we've surpassed that. Oh God, we surpassed that book some time ago. But it is absolutely galloping now to where but it's like a teenage film. What is it called? The Hunger Games Society. There is no difference between that film and what is happening now. We've already arrived at that point where there is no middle class, just masses of wealthy people at the top and then a bunch of serfs at the bottom. No middle class, and the serfs are not allowed to try to better themselves or get up into any bracket in life at all. No need to work hard to improve yourself or study. No, you mustn't do that. Oh no, absolutely not. You must do as we tell you to do. Otherwise, you get this little pitiful amount of money that we're going to give you. It won't be money. It will be a point system. And if you jaywalk or say something incorrect, then your points will be taken off of you. And eventually you will have no points, so you won't be able to go into a shop to buy anything. And you will starve to death. I mean, through this pandemic, people are starving to death all over the world because it's all about reducing the population. And they can only reduce the population if they brainwash the children.
Yeah, I mean,
And it is absolutely cantering. And in America now, they have said it's already in San Francisco to have robots who can kill. Robots to put onto crowds that congregate, against governments, who demonstrate against, then they can legally put these robots in to kill people. So then the police, I didn't do it, a piece of machinery did it. That gets them out of that.
We haven't got them yet here, but have you seen online the Amazon robots
No.
going around? There are lots of Amazon robots going around now,
Uh-huh.
which deliver your goods that you buy in these little electronic
No, I haven't seen those. I think I've heard about them though.
Amazon
Yes.
robots. They go around the pavements
Mm-hmm.
and they go up to specific houses and doors and deliver your parcels for you, and it's being tested all over the place.
Yes.
There aren't any here yet, but I can't wait to see the first one because they're on wheels,
Mm-hmm.
right? First one I see, I'm immediately tipping it over so it can't go anywhere.
Oh, what a good idea. Will they arrest you for that?
Yes, because it's property damage.
Yes, property damage, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Doesn't mean I'm not going to do it.
you'd like to do it.
I
And I'm
certainly
sure
would.
a lot of people will do it.
Yeah, that's what they're finding out. They're finding out
Yes.
that the general public aren't too keen on these ones,
Uh-huh.
on these robots.
But I mean, it all started years and years ago with children's electronic toys. You used to wind them up and they'd fly over the place and then come down. I mean, that's been around for a long time. They've just improved on this whole thing. But then then there won't be any postage at all. Means you can't post a letter, so you have to write everything online so they know every single thing you have said. Will be no privacy whatsoever. They will have, and also when they bring in this digital system, you won't get it unless you've had the vaccinations that they tell you to get, because that will come off your point system. I do
Scary
so
stuff.
hope those people in China achieve their results, because what is needed, what they're doing in China, is needed all over the world. We should all be doing what they are doing, I tell you,
Yeah.
while there's still time, because the governments are regrouping to be able to smash down the rebellion with these drones that can kill you. It's giving them time to say, well, now there's more of you, but we've got more ammunition to use. You haven't got any guns because we confiscated your guns. And as soon as someone comes in and says, turn in all your arms, you know very well there's going to be a revolution. That's exactly what happened in Germany.
And China. And
Yes,
the
in
USSR.
China. Yes.
And Cuba.
Yeah,
And Venezuela.
because that makes us able to control you totally, because we've got guns, we've got all sorts of nice toys, but you haven't got anything.
You can't.
As
can't fight
Mr.
back.
Klaus says, you will have nothing and be happy because we've got the fucking lot. Yeah. And these are the caliber of people that are out there, and we're still letting them walk around. Sorry, I despair, totally. Totally despair. The only thing that gives me hope is there's people in China now. I mean, but I swear they'll slaughter a lot of them before they let them succeed. They did it before and it worked with Falun Gong, which are now all arrested and imprisoned there, and they're taking their organs.
The Chinese are brainwashed. They got brainwashed, but they're breaking out of it, and that's what can happen here eventually.
Oh God, I hope so. I hope
Can
I
I-
live to see it. I'm an old woman, and I hope, God, I live to see it, because I tell you something, I will be out there with them.
Yeah.
Sure, because I've had my life. So I've got a fucking guts to get out there, I tell you. You've got your life to live, and so have those children. And for me not to do that is for me not to be human.
Can I
No,
tell
I'm
you-
not going to go and fight in any wars in Ukraine or
No, I'm certainly
godforsaken
not.
place that's going
I'll-
to make those monkeys rich and rich and rich.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
As in specifically the elites, the Klaus
Yeah.
Schwabs,
Yeah.
the Soroses, just to be
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
Uh,
But what I despise most is these people in England in authority, because I happen to love England. I'm sorry. With all her faults, I love England. I'm quintessentially an English woman.
Yeah.
I've travelled all over the world to see some beautiful, lovely places, but England, there's certain things about it that I still liked.
I mean,
But
you've
they are
seen
vanishing.
you've seen some horrible things around the world as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, how many years did you spend? How many months did you spend in Vietnam?
A year.
Oh, you spent a year.
It was like a tour of duty. Yeah.
You were there during the Vietnam War.
I was there during the Vietnam War, yes. And it was a very, very unpopular war. The troops there, they didn't even know what they were there for. But they were trying out all these mustard gas, bombs and things like
Mhm.
that.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but your boyfriend at the time was arrested by the Viet Cong.
Yes, he was. And it was a trumped-up charge there, and I had to buy him out of prison, which took me 2.5 months and an awful lot of money. But if he hadn't have had any money, he probably would still have been there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, I
It
got
was
to-
very, very frightening, and I had a tremendous man helping me to do that, a man called Bryce Miller. and his wife Anne. Bryce is passed on now. I don't know about Anne, if she's still around or not, but they were so kind to me. And he was the head of UPI in
United Press International.
yes, in Saigon, so it was a pretty important position. And when I went in to take the money to the lawyer, Bryce turned around and he said to me, "Do not take that in on your own. Take the manager of the Bank of America with you."
The manager of Bank of America.
Yeah, and Lou had an account there with them, you see. And I said, "Oh, no, I can't do that." He said, "Listen, you've got to. Don't you dare take that money in there on your own." Well, I took Bryce's advice, and I had to virtually beg the man to come with me. But he did, God bless him. And he opened up the bank on a Sunday for me to get the money to take to the lawyer, which I did, and we put it on the table, and he said, "Right, now then we want a total acquittal with this." The lawyer said very little. He took the money, and Lou was out in 5 days. 5 days.
How long did he spend him?
2.5 months took me to buy up. And they kept on and on. You know, you pay money and then they wanted more money.
We did
and the
work
whole
it
thing.
out one time. How much did you pay at the time in dollars?
Well, it came to the whole thing of a lot of money. A lot of money. An awful lot of money.
Can I say how? Because we did work it out once to how much it would cost to have got him out today with
Yeah.
inflation. Can I say how much it was?
Yes,
Today?
if you it was about $50,000.
Well, today that would be worth about 500,000.
Yes, yeah.
About 500,000.
Yes, but there was no other way to get him out. There really wasn't. I mean, his money had to be paid. But what slayed me was that the British Embassy at the time knew what was going on. It was called the Special Court, this little lot there, and they knew it, and they wanted to clap down on it. But they certainly didn't give me any help, I promise you. Very, very frightening times. Very, very frightening times. But I think life is a bit frightening, isn't it? If you go out and live it properly.
Yeah.
You know, if you stay home and close your eyes to what life is about, we're not really going to live, are you? And then, you know, people swing you about and do whatever they want with you. It's very, very difficult.
Can I
I tend to be somewhat cynical about life and say, you know, unless you're born with money and, you know, or can provide a good education so you can get money, I sometimes don't think life's much cop. I really don't.
Yeah.
You know, there's all sorts of diseases there to cut us down at a time in life when we can be of use to young people through experience and that. And then your time is over, and pretty much all disease now can be cured. I mean, they said that in 1969. We can now cure pretty much all disease, but people have got to die because they're living too long. And if they've got to die, then let them die of cancer so that we can make money while they're dying. And they do make a lot of money.
Should we go to a clip?
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
We'll go to just a short one, a minute long. We'll go to the garden park, Grange Park.
Mhm.
Okay, and welcome back. No, they couldn't. But so one of the interesting things I've heard recently is about brainwashing. I heard a quote, not a quote, but just I was talking to a friend, a family friend, and I said to her, "Look, the vaccine that's out."
I can't talk
Hang
with
on. Yeah,
background
let's-
noise. It's too much.
Hello, you okay?
Hello, let's go.
How are you always?
Okay, welcome back. Sorry for the abrupt clip. There was lots of noise in the background, and both me and Liza struggle with the noise in the background, lose track of what you're saying, and it's very distracting.
Especially when we're dealing with the deep subjects that we are dealing with.
Yeah, I was in the
It
middle of
doesn't
talking.
give them the dignity and the credibility.
Yeah. I was in the middle of talking about brainwashing when we went to the clip, so I'll resume what I was saying. I'll start from the beginning. I have a close family friend who I was talking to about the vaccine.
Mhm.
She was very, very, very pro-vaccine. I've got to get all 108 shots or whatever it is up to now. Gotta get the booster, blah, blah, blah. And when it first rolled out, I said to her, look, I'm not getting the vaccine because I don't trust it. I've gotten every vaccine in the past, and if I need to go to a different country, like Africa, a country in Africa, sorry, I will happily get like the malaria vaccine, those sorts of things. I'm not anti-vax, I'm anti-COVID vaccine. I don't trust it. I don't think you can create a suitable vaccine for humans in 8 months. That's ridiculous. I was talking to her, and that's what I said to her, what I just said. And then I went on to say, I was like, look, the government just signed a deal with Pfizer saying that if there are any deaths or illnesses caused by the vaccine, it is not Pfizer's fault. And the government signed this deal. Do you remember this? That it was not on the responsibility of the big
yes,
pharmas.
and you can't sue us.
No, you can't. I said that to her, which is it's true.
Mhm.
It's a fact. The government really did sign that with Pfizer. And she said, I don't believe that. That's not true. And even if it was true, I wouldn't believe it.
Even if it was true, I wouldn't believe
I
it.
swear to God.
Yeah, but that's the mentality
I
you're
swear to
dealing
God.
with, and it can be exhausting trying to.
Word for word,
To
what she
educate.
said, even if it was
Was
true,
true.
I wouldn't believe it.
Because she wants to have them.
And she did. She got all of them.
Yeah.
She got all of them.
Yes,
Coincidentally, her health is declining.
really.
Coincidentally.
Poor child. Poor
Well,
girl.
she's not a child. She's 60.
Well, no, she should know better. But, I still feel very sorry when these people. But can I read my little thing that I bought here?
Yeah, that ties in nicely to the
Yeah.
next segment when we go on to ethnic groups.
Governments confirm COVID vaccine have already killed millions. Official reports published by the governments of the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and most of Europe confirm 1.8 million excess deaths have been recorded since the mass rollout of the COVID injections. Further evidence published by the UK government confirms the most likely cause of these excess deaths is COVID-19 vaccinations because mortality rates are lowest among the unvaccinated in every single age group. Now, they said in Parliament, the guy said he was going to bring up in Parliament, investigate these vaccinations. Another little creep said, oh, we can't waste money or time, they're perfect. And, he said, no, excuse me, I want these investigated. How long is it going to take for them to do that? How long?
Yeah, I mean,
before they bring it up and say, look, even if it's truthful.
Yeah.
Even if it is truthful.
Even if it's true, I won't believe it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just so we don't get banned from YouTube, I will say, yeah, obviously there's nothing wrong from the vaccine. No one has ever died from any vaccine in history. It's 100% perfect, no questions asked.
Yeah.
And if you do ask questions, we'll arrest you.
Yes. Yes.
Literally no questions asked.
Yeah. But interesting, Jane Fonda was blowing in for the vaccinations over there, and a bunch of celebrities, and now she's dying of cancer. Interesting, isn't it? Huh? Very healthy, fit lady like that.
Well, she is quite old. She's 84, 85.
Yes. Well, you see, these vaccinations, they lower your resistance. And why take a perfectly healthy person with a high resistance, give them an injection to lower that resistance? So would they catch COVID or would they catch something else? Your chances of knocking it out are minuscule when you've got a lowered resistance to it. But apart from which, the shit that they are putting into this stuff, I mean, it's unthinkable, absolutely unthinkable. Yeah. And this is to control us. You see, and eventually when they do away with money, bring this system, it will be not only will you have the injection, you will have the microchip. Because then we haven't got to waste time all the time giving you these injections. That just the one microchip will do the lot. And then it's total control, especially with all these 5G pylons going up all over the place. It's easy to track us, and well, we're finished, aren't we? As human beings, totally finished. Totally. I think right now, the only chance we've got is that lot in China.
That's terrifying. Our last hope are the Chinese.
Chinese, yeah, absolutely.
Oh
absolutely. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. What have we sunk to?
Our last hope to save us is China.
But the Japanese are demonstrating on behalf of China, and that It might just catch on, Max. I mean, the truckers caught on. Yes, they made a noise.
They did. They did make a noise, and a very very good one.
Yeah, they stopped their money, though, you see.
As
So
soon
they
as
couldn't survive.
as soon as you debank someone, that's it.
Yes,
They can't do anything. It's designed that way.
yes.
I mean, just heard 2 banks are closing down next year
Hmm.
from July.
Now,
There'll only be
correct
one.
me if I'm wrong, but it was only a few years ago that we bailed the banks out with an awful lot of money. Now, what happened to that?
I don't know. We're not allowed to ask questions, are we?
No. No.
It's getting ridiculous at this point.
What else we got here?
Well,
Yes, this was. Yes, the prize. Canada, assisted suicide in Canada, and they are advertising it on television.
they're advertising the vaccine on television. Sorry, could you repeat that?
They're advertising assisted suicide on television. Commercials saying, if you're tired of this world and don't like it and are very, very unhappy, go to this next beautiful world. We will
What?
assist you. Yeah. Yeah.
They're advertising that.
Yes. And not only in Canada. Just like the Nazis in the last World War. Oh, there's a book out that I've simply got to get, New Bottles for New Wine. It's by Aldous Huxley. Have to get that, but I'm sure I know everything that's in it. Oh, and another thing, we are not grown up until we are 30. So they've got a long time to brainwash us. You
We're
see,
not grown up. Who says that?
the brain is fully developed when it is 30. Fully developed then.
Are you sure? 30?
Well, it seems like quite credible. That's why these young brains, they're getting to them before they're developed properly. Oh, Canada. British Columbia Bill C-36 lays the groundwork for forced vaccinations for any illness the government chooses, and disciplinary measures for anyone who challenges prevailing public health narratives. Mental health, if they say you are suffering mentally if you refuse the vaccine.
That's convenient.
Very convenient, isn't it?
All of this is getting too much.
But do you remember the guy I told you about last week, the man who was in hospital? I know this
I do, yeah.
enormous hospital bill, and they said, well, would you prefer suicide because you've got no way of paying for this, have you? I mean,
you
suppose you
prefer
said that to
suicide?
Donald Trump. Now, look, you owe a nice few quid. Do you think you'd be better off if you had assisted suicide? Because I know you would worry about it. What do you think he would say?
I can imagine he wouldn't appreciate that too much. I could imagine.
Or say that to Elon Musk?
Oh God.
Yeah.
This is all ridiculous. It really is. Shall we go to a quick breather? let's, let's go. All right, here we go. We'll go just a minute clip, 60 seconds. Okay, we're back. So we have 13 minutes left. We've got one last subject to go through, or two maybe. I don't know what you have there.
Oh, Australian banks have introduced a social credit system, and so is somewhere in America. They have introduced that too.
I'm sure nothing. can
Oh,
go
it's
wrong
a
with that.
statement here, which I thought was rather good. The war is bleeding the West and feeding China. Sounds just about right, doesn't it?
Say that again.
The war is bleeding the West and feeding China. Sounds right, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
This is all too much. Should we go into the God, this mouse keep dropping it. I don't know what is wrong with me this morning. Should we go to our last topic? Maybe. I think it may have been. Okay, let me share the screen with you. It'll be a slight delay for you. Just there. All right, here we go. Oh, hang on a minute. I need to bring it up for you. God's sake. Sorry, that's me being so stupid. Okay, here you go. So you can see this now as well. We can look at ethnic data or population of. So this is white, English, Scottish, Northern Irish, or British, or Welsh. These are populations based on. So if we go up to London, we can now see that England is a minority white city. I mean, look at this one here. Newham, only 14% of people are white.
Yes.
If we go deeper into this information, you can find even crazier areas. Just such tiny amounts. All of the major cities in this country, almost all of them, are majority not British. It is getting ridiculous at this point. And talking about this sort of thing is difficult to talk about because it can be seen as very racist.
Of course, yes.
But it's just statistics. I mean, I don't know what Brighton.
But this migration, these people that are coming over here, it's no good for us, and in the long run, it is no good for them. Eventually, we're going to be like a great big, conglomeration of human beings, all muddled together and nowhere to go to the toilet.
Also, there won't be specific gender toilets, will there?
You're lucky if you'll find one, whether it's gender or not. This is all courtesy of George Soros, who has paid these people to come over here to destroy our country.
There's a hell of a lot of illegal immigration now.
And these young fellows are being brought over, I swear, for this World Army. So that should we uprise the way the Chinese are doing, well, then we've got an army, haven't we? Against you. Forget the police. We'll bring out the army. And what they do too is they cause a whole lot of trouble deliberately. We won't know how to control it, so they say, well, that's when we bring in the World Army and control it for you. Yes. After you've planned everything. If there's not going to be any wars, what do we need an army for?
What do we need an army for?
Huh?
Civil unrest is their excuse. Civil unrest,
Yes.
civilian, what's going on in China right now? That's what we need an army for.
Yeah.
So you mean to suppress the people?
Mm. Yes, we can't have that, can we? Oh, no. God forbid they should want to eat. Oh, please.
We're coming up to, we've got about 5 minutes left of the show.
And Tony Blair's Risman style, giving Keir Starmer advice on how to run the country when he's up there. As we knew that would happen, didn't we? We discussed that several times.
The
Blair creature.
Do you think Labour will win the next election?
I've never voted in my life, as I told you. But
You said you've only ever voted
yeah,
twice.
because I'm going to vote for what's his name, Nigel Farage.
Yeah, Reform UK, formerly the Brexit Party.
Yeah,
If
I don't
you-
believe in their policies a lot, but listen, they are the
They're
lesser
the
of
last option we have.
last option we have. Yes. Yeah.
You said you've only ever voted twice. Once.
Well, I did vote. I think I voted for Margaret Thatcher. Do you know? I really can't
Why?
remember.
You said you voted for her the first time, but not the second time.
No.
Why would that
no,
have
I
been?
never said that.
Oh, did you not?
No. No.
Sure you said- Did you vote for Norman Baker, or did you not do that?
I think I voted for Norman. I think so because I admire him so much.
He's
It's
a personal
too bad
friend
he's
of yours.
Gone. Yes, personal friend. So sorry he's given it up. But listen, he tried so hard. He really did. And then he said, I've had enough. It's like treading through mud. And when they stuck him up there with Theresa May, who hated Norman Baker and gave him a horrible bad time. And he just
Why
thought,
did she hate Norman Baker so much?
I don't know, probably because he's a good politician.
Good person.
A good person too. Yes, very good person.
And you're not allowed those in
But
politics.
he said goodbye, good day, and that is it. And we didn't vote for him the last time, which must have hurt him tremendously.
Well, it was because all the seaside towns went for Brexit.
Yeah.
Not Brexit. Sorry, UKIP,
Yeah.
the UK Independence Party, because the seaside towns were having such a strong issue with illegal immigration. The people were washing up on their shores.
Yeah.
That's why they all voted for UKIP, and that's
Yeah.
why Norman Baker lost the election.
Yes, which was very sad. But his party, I wouldn't vote for at all. The Liberal
No,
Party,
I don't
no,
like
absolutely
the Liberal
not. I'm
Democrats.
sorry, no, useless, absolutely useless people with a whole lot. No time for him. Only Norman because he's a mate.
If Nigel Farage really does actually run as a front runner, that would be, first of all, amazing, and I would genuinely consider volunteering.
He will run.
I,
Promise you, he will run.
I'm very hopeful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I really hope he does. I don't know if he will.
And I don't know, Trump isn't finished yet by a long shot, and he favors Trump. They're buddies.
Yeah.
They're buddies.
I don't know about.
And Trump is infinitely better than this lot, I tell you.
I know. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Trump doesn't have the same energy as he did in the 2016 elections.
No,
Something's
that'll come
happened.
though. He's a little blah blah, just going through the motions of life at the moment. But when he really starts to push it, that energy will definitely come. He's done some unforgivable things in my book, but then
Didn't pardon Julian Assange.
oh, he should have done that. Should have done that.
Didn't
It's
pardon any
ridiculous.
of the January 6th people. The
And also, he hasn't said that the
the
injections are no good.
he said the whole he said the complete opposite. Actually, he was at one of his rallies and he was like, the injections, they're perfect, everyone should get vaccinated, and the crowd started booing him.
Yes, but he said
His
there
own
should be choice.
supporters.
There should be choice.
Yeah,
He
I
said-
agree there should be choice. I
he
don't
said
care
that.
if you're pro-vaccination or pro-COVID vaccine specifically, I don't mind, as long as you are willing to say it should not be forced.
Exactly. No medication should be forced. No
No.
medication.
Of course. I have someone from my mum's company got fired because she didn't get the vaccine. Multiple people, but one specifically I'm talking about. So one of them were fired, and I believe it was 'cause she didn't get the vaccine because she had an allergy to one of the ingredients in the vaccine.
Hmm.
Well, you're fired.
But
They're hiring.
she was very lucky that she had an allergy.
Well, here's the
to
thing.
the very, very
Well, no, she was
lucky.
still fired.
Still fired.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All the
That's
people that
But
the
now,
health net. Can I finish this? All the people that they fired for not having the vaccine, they have rehired,
yes,
even though they didn't get it.
yes, and they've got to reimburse them too. Got to give
Well, they
them a
haven't
few quid.
reimbursed them anything,
Mm.
but they're hired again.
Yes, because they realise too that even if you've had the vaccination, you can still pass it on to people.
Well, it started off as get the vaccine, you'll never catch, spread, or die from COVID. And then it was, well, you can catch COVID, but you can't spread or die from
Yeah.
the vaccine.
And you can
Oh, well,
catch
no,
it,
you
but you
can-
won't get it as bad
You won't get it as bad.
as they do with the flu.
Well, you'll still get it bad now, or you can still spread it as well, but you won't die. Okay, maybe you'll still die from COVID, but it's unlikely.
Yeah. No, you won't die from COVID. You'll die from the shit they've injected into
Well,
you.
it's
That's what you'll
it's
die
certainly a
from.
big difference from like what they originally promised.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's 10:59. We have a minute left. What has been the most important thing you think we've spoken about today?
I think the suicide, government encouraging people to commit suicide.
TV.
That's what they're
adverts.
doing. They're encouraging people to take their own lives with government assistance. In other words, they're making euthanasia lawful.
Again, we both support euthanasia in theory.
Yes.
In theory,
Yeah.
but you're euthanized by the government.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes wrong with the death penalty as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to finish off, I think the most important thing I've spoken about is
Yes.
the family friend that I spoke to, and she said, well, I don't believe that. But even if it was true, I still wouldn't believe it. Word for word. I am not exaggerating. Word for word what she said.
I mean, that's the
Oh,
answer that a
God.
little child would give. A little child
Not
would
a
answer
60-year-old
like that.
woman.
Yes.
Not 60-year-old.
Yeah.
God. It's ridiculous. Everything's ridiculous. Everything's backwards. Everything's been flipped upside down. Well, it's 11 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. You'll see us again next week. And you'll see tomorrow, and you'll see tomorrow at 8:30 Keith, and at 10 o'clock Melissa Conti will be joining Keith at 10 o'clock. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've actually taken in what we've said today, because we've had a very good show. We've spoken about quite a lot. So thank you for watching.
Thank you very much for watching.
Tune in tomorrow at 8:30.
Thank you, Max.
Thank
Good
you,
show.
Liza. It was. Okay, sorry, we're not going just yet. It's 11:02, but we're extending it a little bit longer. Keith has something to say.
Yes, it's just a note. This is the Beast replacing the Beauty, but to let you know or remind you that tonight is late night shopping in Lewes. It kicks off at about somewhere around 4 o'clock. So if you want to escape from Lewes, remember that the buses will not be running through the centre of the town for a little while. Normally, this is a great occasion where, for instance, you see the Shire horses from Harveys, you see bands and so on marching the streets, but shops tend to open their doors and have mince pies and sherry and so on, so that they can show you their gear and the specials that they have running up to Christmas. So tonight in Lewes, late night shopping. If you live just outside Lewes, come on in and take a look. If you live in Lewes, get ready to celebrate along with the shopkeepers and the people of the high street who are preparing to show you what they've got to offer for the festive season. So just a little note again, this evening, or late this afternoon and this evening, lots of fun and games in Lewes with late night shopping. Thanks for listening to me. Toodle pip.
Toodle pip. Goodbye, everyone. This time we're really leaving. All right. Goodbye. Tune in tomorrow at 8:30.